Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the August meeting of the Eldred Board of Education. Could you please rise for the pledge? I think there's a little flag in the back. Sorry. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Alright, so I see, first off, I see one thing wrong with this room, okay, with us being here. That camera is in a really bad spot.
Why?
Because usually you can't see me,
Yeah.
and I like that way. Okay?
That's why I'm sitting here, so it can't see me.
Yeah, see that?
Actually, I think we got a good shot of the back of your head.
That's fine. That could be anybody's back of their
I know we
head.
had one entire board meeting with the Black Club's head.
There was a distinct sunglasses front.
Oh,
Nobody says that.
Okay. So we're starting with a presentation from Mr. Binkowski.
You have a hard copy of the presentation in front of you.
So as soon as you're ready, thank you everyone for having me again, 2 months in a row. I'm here because the Basketball Booster Club and talking with members of the community, alumni, etc., recognize an opportunity to bring back a tradition that used to take place here at the school, which was there used to be programs available with schedules and season schedules, and the rosters of teams and all that stuff available. We did it at my high school back in the 80s and 90s. And so this is basically my request to bring that back. As you know, the Booster Club is a nonprofit, and the whole purpose of the Booster Club is to try to provide opportunities for our kids, for our athletes, as well as for kids interested in playing the game. And we're obviously looking to aggressively fundraise and continue to do that so we can keep providing those opportunities for our kids. Some of our future plans, for example, include providing subsidized or free basketball shoes for kids who are in need who want to play the sport, as well as sponsoring or taking kids to out-of-area camps, and obviously buying new equipment, those kinds of things. So the fundraising requests are going to keep coming. This is the first one of 2 of them. So with that, we'd like to have permission from the board to create and distribute these basketball programs for all home games during the upcoming season. If you go to page 4 on the plan, we've already worked on, my team and I, on establishing program guidelines for advertising to be included in that. So there will be quarter page, half page, and full page ads for local businesses to participate in. Once all the rosters for the season have been finalized, as we know kids come and go based on grades or what have you, but basically once the roster is set up the first week, we'll get all that information, get the printing going, get a team photo taken, etc. And we're also going to include things like the kids' names, their position, their height, put the coaching staff in there as well as the season schedule, so if somebody coming to a home game wants to come to a future game, they'll have it added lines right there. We'll also print the disclaimer that these games are subject to change based on weather, etc. The advertisements will not appear on pages where the kids are on those pages. So on the team's photo, on the page with the modified boys team, and they've got their photo and all that, we will not have an ad directly on that page. It will be on other pages of the program itself. And we're going to use 4-color printing, and we're probably displaying schools' colors, obviously the mascot, information about the programs themselves, and then about the Booster Club as well. Upon approval, I'm going to start reaching out to local businesses to get them to sign up starting tomorrow, approved. And I've already kind of soft sounded with a few businesses that are very interested. So I think once the word's out, I think people will sign up. We're planning on doing a run of about 1,000 programs so that we can have it at home. You know, some of the games are well attended, some of them not so much. I think based on the success we had last year for both programs, as well as some things that Mr. Gass and I have been talking about doing to bring more people in that will have a good attendance. If we need to do another run, we will. The cost of printing release is actually very cheap. So they'll be what are considered saddle-stitched booklets with a staple binding. I'm sure you've seen those have been down Broadway or what have you. So in summary, we'd like to produce 1,000 of these and hand it out at home games. It'll feature both boys and girls teams as well as modified JV varsity. And advertising is going to support not just the production but also the monetization so that we can fundraise for the thing next year.
So they're given out at every home game, basketball
Yep.
home game.
Yep.
And So after the games, are people gonna, are some of the boosters or somebody gonna walk around and pick up all the ones that haven't been used so you can use them again?
Yeah.
Because most of the time, we just fill trash cans with that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't wanna see that happen with these. You're
Yeah.
spending money and you can give them out again. Most
Absolutely.
people are gonna look at it, put it down.
Yeah.
Not necessarily gonna take it home.
Yeah, I think parents will take it obviously because their kids are in it. and
Once,
that's the thing they have.
but not
Yeah.
every, you know.
Right, and, you know, it's not gonna be required when you walk in, you have to take one.
Right,
But
right.
they'll be offered at least, kind of like when you walk into any sporting event now, you go to, you know, a Mets game, they're handing out programs in front. People that have a sponsor on there. Yeah.
Just has to keep people up to the sound. Sounds good to me.
Flying the island. The original Booster Club was created at a failed, at one of the budget defeats. And it was originally for football, but it was for all sports. And I'm thinking if we have a Booster Club, rather than have a solely blank and, you could take a piece of paper and go, well, listen, I'd like to have it for all sports. That's my suggestion. But
Don't we have a football booster club?
There is a football
Do we have
club.
basketball?
Each club?
Do we have soccer? I don't know what we
I
have.
don't believe there's soccer. I don't believe there's baseball either.
No,
because the Booster Club is parents.
The booster clubs were started by parents. They were not sponsored or in any other
Right.
way. And
Right.
the district had no involvement in them, in their activities, in their fundraising. But it was parent sponsored. We had a football booster club up until this year. Okay, we don't have a football program this fall because we didn't have enough kids. And we will
High
be-
school either?
At high school, yeah, we discussed this in the spring, Mr. Cass report on it. And we have not had a soccer one, we haven't had a baseball one, and the basketball one has been around 2 years?
Just about 2 years.
Just about 2 years, right?
We got our 501c3 designation around December, January, about 2 years ago. There is, I think Don Drew runs one for track as well.
Okay, just as long as, we look into all sports.
Well, it's not our
It's up to the clubs.
purview as a board or district to do those things. That's a parent-sponsored thing.
So I'm asking the parents that we do that, and we don't have to appreciate that.
I think it's a good model, if the other booster club want to follow what Dave's done, but it sounds like, Dave, it's probably a tremendous amount of work and time, it sounds like, so I don't think it's reasonable for us to ask them to do for all the other sports, but I think it's a good
No,
model for the
I
other
mean,
sports.
parents-
The other parents. Will be a good role model. if you will.
Yeah.
So we'll have, every business that advertises will get an advance copy and those kinds of things. So also keep it after business, so if Lou down at the corner decides he wants to advertise, we give him a copy if he wants. And if we have extra, we can distribute those.
Mr. Gass, talking to soccer people too, soccer parents, and give them a little match.
I haven't asked him, but I could.
Could you?
Actually,
Pretty cool, Dave. Thank you.
Very good job, Dave.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so what we're gonna do then is we're gonna put under new business, we're gonna draft, or, we're gonna put together a motion to, is this something that we need to approve?
I say, why are we're not sponsoring it?
I don't think we need to vote on this, correct? So this is more an FYI.
Okay, okay. I mean, if we did, it would just be to show our support.
And if we're not sponsoring it, they take care of all their insurances and everything?
They're their own entity, yes. If they reserve the facilities, they have to provide their own insurance certificate. And they're a separate,
Yeah,
independent
okay.
entity.
We'll have a copy of that.
Okay. So our next order of business is to administer the oath of allegiance to Mr. LaPointe, who had to be out of town last month and missed our meeting, so. Okay, so repeat after me, raise your right hand. I do solemnly affirm
I do solemnly affirm
that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
Sorry. And the Constitution of the State of New York.
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
And that I will faithfully discharge,
and I will faithfully discharge,
according to the best of my abilities,
according to the best of my abilities,
the duties of the position of
the duties of the position of
Vice President of the Board of Education
Vice President of the Board of Education
for the Eldred Central School District,
of the Central School District,
to which I have been elected
to which I have been elected,
for the 2016-2017
For the 2016-2017
school year. Thank you. Okay. I was afraid we were going to vote on something without Amador taking it. Okay. Yep. Okay, so that takes us to district reports, and Ms. Keegan will start us off with our elementary principal report.
Okay. The painting at GRM looks fabulous. We're going to have a coral hallway, a blue hallway, beautiful orange hallway. I thank Ms. Lewis for really standing behind this project because she's like our mother up there. Thank you very much. And Mr. DeFore. It is looking really like just a fun place to be, like an elementary school should be. On Monday and Tuesday, Scott, Bob, and I attended the Great Food Coach Conference, and our secretaries joined us on Tuesday. Bob and I attended Monday and Tuesday, and Scott and Wendy and Mrs. Anderson joined us on Tuesday. And it was really an interesting philosophy, which we're going to be implementing. What it will entail is that Mr. Krebs and I will be in classrooms 2 days a week on top of our observations, coaching teachers, and really just working together as a team and trying to improve instruction. So we're really looking forward to that change. Mrs. Labuda's first day will be August 29th. We're looking forward to having her on staff. Superintendent's conference day, we're gearing up for that at this point. We're scheduling things and getting ready. The first one is August 31st. The second one is September 6th, with school starting on the 7th. Pre-K orientation is September 1st, and that usually is a very fun day. It consists of some children in tears. They don't want to leave, a bus ride, and some are enthusiastic about having their first lunch in the cafeteria, or the first meal in the cafeteria. It's just a really great way to kick off the school year, to have them in the school, to get acclimated before school starts. It's a really busy summer, and it's going very well. Any questions for me moving forward?
No,
Thank
sounds
you.
awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Krebs is not here this evening. Did he leave a report or anything? Okay. Ms. Lewis, the business office report?
So it's been busy in the business office, closing out last year, getting ready for the audit, beginning this year, making sure everything's in order for the new school year. The painting, as Ms. Keegan had said, is going along well. The Mackenzie School will be ready for its superintendent's conference day. The custodial staff has been very cooperative, as have people in the transportation department working together to get everything done that needs to be done. I'm happy to report that in the transportation department, we have the prospect of a few new drivers and sub-drivers, so that has made things a little bit easier. Our runs are ready to be picked. I don't know if they chose them today, but I know Melissa had gotten them all together. I'm going to be starting with the ST3 reporting for state aid for next year, following year, so that we can get that done. And it's just, the usual numbers of busyness. And thank God Kim's here, because she's been busy too.
Very good. Anything for Ruth?
Just one thing, Ruth. So I see the transportation runs and the implementation of food service modifications. Is there anything significantly different about food service or transportation?
Actually, yes, food service. I met today with the cook manager, Jill Decker, and we went over the things that we're going to be implementing starting the school year. We've ordered vending machines for both schools for snacks, cold drinks, and ice cream that will be available throughout the day and in the evening, so it generates some more funds for the cafeteria fund. Also, some changes to the menu. We are going to be making changes to the menu, but we are not going to go in and wipe it clean and start over. We want to do that gradually so the children can get acclimated introduce new things throughout the start of the school year, and then really get into more hands-on homemade type items. So we are, and we also have the breakfast program starting in September, which is very exciting in junior senior high school. So
At
there's
the high school?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Well, it's really necessary. These kids
I
get up
agree.
so early in the morning, and they probably don't eat. So they need, at least now they can come here and they can get an egg sandwich or whatever, because a lot of them are stopping at Peck's, so
Yeah.
why shouldn't we be selling them?
That's right.
So
Have prices changed for the baby meal?
the prices have not changed. We will, next year we really do need to, I'm going to be working on investigating that, working with state ed, and next year I'll come back and with some recommendations that they have, so because we probably should review that. It's been quite a while since the district had pricing.
And on transportation, you're just talking about the routes and stuff, there's
The routes.
nothing significantly different about transportation.
No, just the fact that we have a few new candidates, which is
That's good.
fantastic. And of course, I'm still investigating the whole lease versus buy option for our fleet, which we'll get more into during this school year in preparation for the budget.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Oh, we could do that now. You've been requesting, and I have this copies for the public as well. You've been requesting a chart based about the, with regard to the faculty association contract, as far as increases and projecting them out for budgeting purposes. So I prepared this so that you could see how it looks each year and what the increases would be. And if there's anybody in the public who would like a copy, I'll just give you and we'll pass it around. So you'll see that I did each school year, each fiscal year. The first column is the total of salary, the second column is what the increase would be.
So just stupid question, but so basically you look at all of the employees, total up their salary,
Anybody covered under the
and the
faculty
fact
association contract?
and then just kind of looked at where they would be next year on the next step of the contract, plus the additional increases, right?
And this is a ballpark figure because obviously you cannot predict credit hours. People may go back and take more credits. You can't predict longevity. You may have retirements that lower the costs. So this is really just a projection based on today's facts.
And that's all we can do. is
Yes.
Project based on what we know today.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any other questions? This is, thank you. Okay, and we're district report from Mr. Dufour.
Ms. Keegan and Ms. Lewis touched on a lot of what we're doing. Probably one of the bigger things we have starting is last year we had explored getting involved with Every Person Influences Children, and we had done a district-wide survey and some focus groups down at Mackenzie. And we're going to be using Title I money to fund that as a pilot program for this school year, and we're going to use the money for 2 years to fund it this year and the following year. They were down last week at Mackenzie, and they were interviewing for a part-time coordinator for the position.
When you say they, who's they?
EPIC, Every Person Influences Children.
Okay, so they have,
They're an organization
yes.
that works for family engagement and family empowerment. They do trainings for parents. They do, I guess you could call it ombudsman type work for parents. They're facilitators. They looked at everything in the district, from our website to our procedures to our policies. Their goal is to make things family-friendly and to get families more involved by offering after-school type programs, by sponsoring activities that will draw parents into our schools. Mrs. Gutcher is the one who had brought the idea, correct? And they're using it in Monticello, and Wallsburg, I think, also uses it, correct?
And Liberty.
And Liberty is using it. So the director was down, the executive, one of the directors was down this week, the past week interviewing, and they are going to, they've narrowed it down to 2 finalists for the position. They anticipate having the individual on board, trained, and fully operational. They're assuring us by October 1st, but they will be at the Mackenzie Open House to give a presentation. I also asked them to come, was it the September meeting I told Tara I wanted her to come to?
September?
Was it September or October I told her I wanted them to
I
come
believe it
to?
was September.
Okay. They'll be at one of the next 2 board meetings, so you can meet the coordinator, and I'm going to have one of the executives down because they're based in Buffalo to just give kind of general overview of what they'll be doing. But I think it's very promising what they can bring us, and I think the ultimate goal of getting more families into our schools and involved in our schools in and of itself would make it worth it. Okay?
This group just work within New York State, or are they in regional?
They're out of Buffalo. I don't know if they go outside of the state or not, truthfully.
They were looking into working with the 2 Pennsylvania schools I know. But I don't know if it goes any further than that.
The person that they're hiring, part-time or full-time?
Part-time.
And they pay that person?
We pay them
Yes.
X amount of money a year.
Right, and they
They
take care of it?
pay the salary, any benefits, and provide the training, the support, the oversight, the supervision, and the coordination of the program. Okay?
That's what I'm like.
$54,000 for this year. And we're using grant money to fund that, so it's not affecting our budget in any way, shape, or form.
I might have missed this, but did we get the survey results?
Brian, I was just thinking, I'm pretty sure you did, but you'll get them again just in case, because with the transition from Bonnie to Wendy,
Yep.
I thought I had sent it out when it came in. When I get back in the office next week, I'll just resend it out to
I
everyone.
might have missed it, so.
It's a possibility, but I'm not going to guarantee. And outside of that, our opening conference days are August 31st and September 6th. And I would like to, and I'll send you all out an email and invite the board to join us for our kickoff conference day on August 31st at 8 o'clock. In the past, Mr. Reiser has always come down to welcome the faculty and staff back. But if you're able to make it, it's only about a half hour. It'd be a good way to kick off our coming school year. And this year, the conference there will be down at Mackenzie, because I'm anticipating work going on in the gym at that time. So, okay, that's all I have.
Okay. I'm sorry, so this is not in your report, but I was just waiting to see if you were going to mention it. You went to this breakthrough coaching, is that what it's called, the breakthrough coaching? Can I ask you for your analysis of that program?
Truthfully, I've gone to a lot of these type of programs. I'm very intrigued by it, and I see tremendous possibility in it. It was highly recommended by my colleague in Liberty. He had gone through it himself. Susan Smith, the deputy superintendent up at BOCES, had it highly recommended by one of her colleagues up near Albany. And the presenter is interesting. I'm going to leave it at that. Very, very, very interesting gentleman. Not my cup of tea per se, but the premise is to get the administrators into classrooms more. And he provided the tools to do that. And as with anything, you can't adopt everything. It's just not all applicable. But there were huge chunks of it that we're going to experiment with this year. And I think we're going to see some real positive results from it.
Thank you.
Still looking into options for solar power?
Short answer, yes. Actually, somebody contacted me out of the blue 2 weeks ago. The company, our big problem is nobody's interested. We've had a number of companies.
Nobody's interested in us.
No, nobody's interested in us.
Right, yeah, so let's.
So we've got taken, I've been up on the roof of Mackenzie more times in the past few years than I can count.
Okay.
While Ruth was on vacation 2 weeks ago, the company that has just contracted with the town of Tustin to put in a small solar array started blindly calling municipalities and governmental agencies in the area. And they hit Lumberland, and Lumberland was kind enough to mention that we were looking to spearhead something. So I was on the phone with them for about an hour and a half. I provided our utility bills, which is usually the first step in this. And I said, here's the deal. I've been down this road a million times before. I'll see if you show up to visit with us. You can meet with Miss Lewis, and they actually sounded like they wanted to make this viable, so Tustin became viable. So the answer is yes, we're still working on it, and it's a consistent work in progress, and it's not on the front burner, it's not on the back burner. We put the pot in the cabinet across the kitchen, and we check it once in a while. So we've had some inquiries made to us, and we're waiting to see if they come to fruition.
See if something grows in the pot.
Don't put me on the spot. I don't know. I sent Ruth the email. They're all very interested in the roof of the castle. That's what they're interested in. That big, huge, flat roof at Mackenzie.
Okay. I have someone that just wants.
That's fine. I mean, we'll talk with anyone, but we've gotten to the point, you'll have the proposal next week. You know what I'm saying?
Next week never comes.
Right.
ECG Engineering.
Oh, that's why.
Bill Bassett, who's past superintendent of Orange Ulster Lucy's, now works with this company, and they are targeting schools. So I'll see if he's willing to.
I'll tell you, Roscoe was supposed to, they signed contracts, they were ready to go, the company back out at the last minute. So they came that close to doing it. It's easier to do for a home than it is to do for a public entity.
Personal connection might be what's going to work on the road. On the road.
I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yes.
No, so I think the personal connection might help because, I ran into some people down at the convention, the Mystic Convention, who sounded all interested, and so I got all excited about it, and I realized, Eldred is small, so it's not worth their while, so I think they need a push, So
I mean, it's still going to come down to numbers.
Yeah.
I'll get them to come talk to us, but whether they give us a proposal or not, we'll see. Okay.
Okay, I don't have anything to report, sadly, but that's okay. Do we have a central treasurer report from the sub? It's in? Okay. So it's not going to be an oral report, it's just going to be a read it over. Okay. Yes. That's what it says? Okay. So that moves us to public comment limited to consent agenda items 4.01 to 7.10. We have one correction to our consent agenda. It was just told to me. 6.05. We've omitted Patty Norris to that 6.05.
That was an oversight.
That was an oversight. We'll correct that.
Oh, so we're adding.
Adding Patty
To the
Norris
sub-nurse list.
to the 6.05 substitute nurse list. Okay. Other than that,
I have a nosy question. This is Labuda, in relation to Judge Labuda,
Same family, right, Jen?
Yep,
going off,
yes.
is most of them.
okay, so public comment? Yes, sir.
Regarding 601, I see we're changing drivers to part-time, which I thought were all full-time. Is there just a designation change for this reason, or they've, they're always been part-time? Okay. And on, since I get two questions, on 602, I see the last name on the substitute list is Mr. Colden. Is that a typo, or?
No, he is going to be returning
Excellent, thank you.
Okay? Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
Yes, I have a comment on the minutes from last meeting. I want to clarify that the resolution to carry forward the reserve funds the previous year was amended by the board to include also the repair reserve fund. Okay, now it's ratified. So that repair reserve fund is now part of the fund balance. The restricted fund balance is two sentences from the auditor's report. There's, I believe, $42,000 there. And it's been established for 4 years. The auditor suggested that maybe we should put it back into the regular fund balance so that it could be used for something else. It's used to pay the cost of repairs to capital improvements or equipment that are of a type not recurring annually. Voter approval is required to fund this reserve, and a public hearing must be held before expending money from the reserve. This reserve is accounted for in the general fund. So it seems to me that if there were a design to put this money back into the general fund, that the board would have to have a public hearing and do it that way. And that might be the thing you want to do, including with your budget next year. So you didn't have to have a separate meeting.
Anything else, Mr. Clark? Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so then, can we have a motion to accept the consent agenda as amended?
I'll second.
Any discussion? I know Linda had a question. Am I putting you on the spot?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, do you want all my questions?
Well, one at a time.
Well, I know I talked this, but I gave you this. I was just wondering, on the second page, no, forget it, you went through that.
We answered, yeah.
I had a question on the third page, if all these names were all cafeteria, they are not, you're going by hourly wage. Um, 708, and what was the update to the attendance policy? Yes, you probably did tell us, but
Jenny, you want to touch on that?
I sure will. In our previous attendance policy or letters that went home to parents stated that we would assign detention to children who were tardy. I gotta tell you, I've never done that. I've probably violated the
also this is
but
for the elementary.
I have never assigned detention for a child who's tardy because mom's running late or whatever. I just say, all right, do you need breakfast, go to class. So we just really made our letters reflect what I'm really doing and not doing. We're in elementary school, so I want to treat it, and when parents get letters, we try to make them friendlier. You know, I'm sorry you're having trouble getting to school, but again, we're in elementary school, so I want my letters to reflect that.
That's good.
So
And,
that
okay.
would not get changed.
Thank you. So my basic question was 710, I'm not understanding that totally. 710?
710?
I am not, I would have to do some more research on this to really explain it properly. I don't want to speak off the top of my head, but we have a 403B retirement plan, and we adopt that, and they're non-elective employer contributions. So it's called the Omni plan, where people can have payroll deductions, tax deferred. So we have to adopt a company that we work with and approve them, and that is what this is referred to. that we are approving, working with the Omni Booster Academy.
So people can contribute
Correct.
to their own retirement funds. We don't have the cost involved in that.
No.
But Omni is the company that owns it.
Correct.
Okay, I
Correct.
understand.
And basically, essentially, that we're not making them do it.
Okay.
No, it's voluntary.
And we don't pay anything to Omni.
No.
We just pass the money through, that's all.
Okay. Excellent.
Okay, any other questions?
I have some questions, but
Sure.
does anybody else have any questions? I just want to follow up on the attendance policy. In the document that's in our packet, the attendance policy is in there, and I'm trying to figure out what the changes are. They usually red, they weren't. There's some stuff crossed off and there's some new stuff added, so I'll show it to you.
Okay.
So it's the procedure for tardies and absences, right?
Okay.
So is it the crossed off stuff that is the change?
The cross-off stuff is no, we've never done it. Serve lunch detention, we just sort of stuff, so it's scanned, it's gone. So our letters will be, you know, child was retarded, but no lunch detention. And there will be a call along with both the school. Somebody will call from the school to say, just want to bring it to your attention that your child is retarded at several times. Is there something we can help you with? Is the child in school on time? Somebody on that line. So that is the change, and that's the change after the 12th grade, same thing. We're not having the child certification.
So just the cross off, we're striking that, and that's really the only changes that we're making.
That's the only change, right?
I just wasn't sure, so I didn't actually, just want to take a look at it.
In the future, because we're still making transitions, Brian, we'll make sure that's printed in writing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I assumed it, well, I just didn't know, so.
I just want to clarify that we want to be in partnership with the parents, and that's the reason for that.
All right, so the lunch detention is gone, and it's a call from the school, that's there.
It's a call from the school, and it's not just a robocall. The principal will make a phone call, and then there's a meeting with the principal, but it's not lunch detention.
It was in the packet, I just wasn't sure what was changed, but if you see that section right there, that language is, there's new language in the board packet.
On, you printed it yourself.
Yes.
Right, she's just wondering why we don't have it.
Oh, no,
I
I'm
said,
sorry,
no,
I printed it, because I,
Yeah.
but you can take it. I was printing, so I can, but you can have that. All right, so I do have a couple of questions. Just bear with me for a minute here. Oh, the minutes, Wendy, I got your email, the minutes for the July 28th meeting, that they weren't there, so I haven't looked at them yet.
Yes, they are all there.
And I didn't want to be rude and open up my iPad, but I do want to read those briefly before we vote, so that's on there now?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
so I'll take a look. All right. So, this is just a question. We have this every month, and the approval of the district's treasurer's report on 403. And it seems, and maybe I'm wrong, but the district's treasurer's report is what you deliver, Ruth, in the presentation portion of the meeting. And we don't approve all the reports, so why do we have the approval for the district's treasurer's report? Is there something that we need to look at to approve that? I mean, it's basically what you shared with us, right?
You normally do receive a copy of the district treasurer's report, and I'm wondering if the person in CBO who does it did not send it down this month.
So it is, it's like a spreadsheet?
It's
Okay, got it. So it's
financial,
there.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's not there in the package.
Yeah. So I'll have to get that to you, because I did not come down from CBO.
All right, so it is, I thought maybe we were approving your presentation.
No.
and I was wondering how that was, okay. So, we did, in our packet, we did have the multi-fund warrants number 1 and number 2 in the packet. 2 is not on the agenda for approval, should it be?
We're going to pull 2 out and put it on next month's agenda.
No problem.
Transition.
Yeah, that's all right, no problem.
Okay.
Just want to make sure. And, all right, so in warrant 2, I'll save my question for next month. Just a general question on 601 through 609. There's a lot of, names for approval for various positions, and I just wanted to ask, just to clarify that these approvals here, does that Does that constitute any hiring or firing of anyone, or is this just like a rollover each year? Are we making any significant changes to
It's
positions?
basically rollover. Some of them are changes in hourly salaries. Okay, so we've seen an hourly amount next to the name that indicates they were a prior employee and this is their salary for the coming school year. But most of them are just rollovers. The substitute list, you will see changes on that at almost every meeting as new people are brought on, as people drop out. But there's nothing, correct, there's nothing on here?
So it's not any significant change in head count or responsibilities? Okay. So I just want to make sure we weren't in one fell swoop doing something significant, so. All right, no problem. And I suspected we weren't. You answered the question of the attendance policy, I appreciate that. So, on 7.08, I'm just going to, I hate to do this because I know it's a hassle with the agenda, but if we could remove 7.08 from the agenda so that we can vote on it separately, or at least the student dress code. I've been thinking about voting for the student dress code last month and I regret that I did so. So I'd like to vote no on the student dress code with the modification for not enforcing the hat rule. And if we could remove that from the agenda so that I could vote on that, so we could vote on this separately, I appreciate that.
Okay.
And I think that's it. All right, but do you mind if I just take a look at the minutes from the special meeting?
Okay, and while you do that, I'm going to ask that we get a different motion to pass the consent agenda. We're not going to vote on 403 as we don't have that. Okay, so we're going to remove that totally. Okay, and we'll remove 7.08 and vote on that at, separately. Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, so consent agenda, less 403 and 708 as amended. And I don't have comments or anything on those minutes. They can just post them. Yeah. Why don't we just remove that, because none of us has had an opportunity to read that,
Okay.
okay? So where is, which one is that?
Just the end, 401.
Just 401.
No, not the whole thing, just the end.
And the special.
The special board meeting would like to be.
The ones from July 14th, correct?
Yes.
All right, I'll amend that motion. Remove the end of 401.
Okay, so we're gonna approve the minutes for July 14, but not July 28,
Yes.
okay? Okay. So, now we're gonna vote on a consent agenda that does not have, I'm sorry? So we're gonna vote on a consent agenda that does not have the July 28 minutes, 4.03, again, removed, and 7.08, again, removed. Okay, so everything except those three things. Is everybody good with that?
Yes.
Doug, I don't know if this is even possible. 7.08 includes the attendance policy, the class rankings policy, and the student dress code. Is there a way to remove?
Then what we'll do is we'll just make three separate motions to cover 708.
Okay, all right.
We'll do that. All right?
Thank you.
We good?
Yep.
So then let's vote on that consent agenda, less those three items that I just said. Okay? Ryan?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Amador?
Yes.
And I'll say yes. 403 we're not going to touch. July 28 minutes will be next month as well. So the attendance policy on 708 is a first reading. So we're going to approve the first reading.
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, Brian?
Yes.
Carol?
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
Commodore?
Yes.
And I'll say yes. Second reading for class ranking. Can I have a motion to accept that? And a second?
I'll second.
And a discussion? Now, the class ranking change was just for the AP weighting, okay? So, any discussion? Then, Brian?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Carol?
Yes.
Linda? Commodore?
Yes.
And I'll say yes. And the second reading of the student dress code, which allows to wear the hats to be worn in the common areas of the school, as well as if teachers allow them in their classroom. Okay?
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? And Brian?
No.
Carol?
Yes.
Linda?
I don't know. The only thing is, I mean, I don't want to make a big deal, but each teacher has the right to say, I don't like it, right? They have the right to say,
Exactly.
so,
Listen, as someone,
I don't like it either.
as someone who had their own classroom, you walk into my classroom, you know that you are not wearing a hat. You know that. As soon as you walk out, you can wear the hat. You can do whatever you want. Well, not really. So,
oh, it gets better, joke, but nobody knows the right to take over
To
that.
your kingdom.
well,
You make them
I have to
look like
say
you
no.
want.
That's your order.
I have to say no.
Yeah, we
Yes.
got two no's.
and I'll say yes as well. And that's fine, that's fine. I just know that the policy as it was amended works. Okay?
It's funny to get them to take their hat off there and
Okay.
the Pledge of Allegiance.
And
National
again,
anthem, please.
just like you said, no
Teachers
one's
stand
no one's coming into a class
Right,
where somebody says no.
Mr. Ryder.
Exactly.
And that split vote didn't
I
hurt
have a
you.
collection of finally used hats. Okay? Did we miss anything? I'm looking at that. Oh, folks, give me this look, man.
Let's see.
I'm sorry, my watch is telling me to stand up.
Or stand up and run the meeting.
Tell us our problem.
Okay, I'm sorry.
As long as you tell them to stand up.
Yeah. Okay, so under old business, we have the NISBA conference. I asked Wendy to put that on here because Amador wasn't here last month. Yeah, so I figured we just hash it out again, or just have the ability to, this was the part of, this was 1.08, 1.09, and 110 that we skipped over last month. You want to take one and pass these down, please? So this is us appointing a voting delegate for the convention, an alternate delegate, and a representative to attend the convention. I believe that whether or not we have named a voting delegate, I believe that we as a board get mailed something that we can mail back as our, casting our vote. I believe that to be true.
An extension, we can vote an extension?
I think last year, Brian, I gave you that document because you were attending.
I had it, and I think, I remember turning something in when I got there.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, logistically, the way it works though is that it's like a convention hall, and a lot of times, they won't actually tally the actual votes, they kind of just assess the room to see whether there's more yeses than nos. So, and then they'll kind of declare that it's passed or not. And there were very few where they actually had to have their,
I see.
their poll watchers do that.
Okay.
So maybe the mail-in vote, they only do for closed votes, I don't know.
Okay,
But
I
otherwise,
see.
there wouldn't be an opportunity to do that.
Okay, well, listen, I cannot attend, and so, and none of us were able to, so we were just gonna sort of toss this out to Amador, saying, thinking that maybe we'd be able to twist his arm, but it doesn't sound like he's gonna go.
Not to attend, but I'd be happy to be a delegate. And not
It sounds like Brian, yeah, I think you have to be there, according to Brian, you have to,
You hold the sign up high.
Yeah.
Yes or no.
you know.
So you can't do that with.
okay. All right, so we have no action on Mr. Conklin then. Okay, none of us can attend. And 802, we added for a report. I think Brian was going to provide us with a report.
Oh, sure, okay. All right, let me pass it down to everybody here. A few more of these than you guys need, but here you are. So I want to deliver a report on behalf of the Recess Policy Subcommittee, which is a subcommittee of the Wellness Committee. And I'll explain what all that means in a second. But there's a lot to say, so I thought I'd just write out the report so that I make sure that I cover everything and that I just don't go on forever. So it's going to take a few minutes to get through this, but it's important for all of you to hear all the work that the Recess Policy Subcommittee has done, what we're recommending. And I think it's also important for members of the public to hear this as well, because it would be a significant policy change that I think may be a proposed policy change that would require public input. I think it would be helpful. So I'll just go ahead and read this. This is a report to the Eldred Central School District Board of Education on behalf of the Recess Policy Subcommittee of the Wellness Committee regarding a proposed new recess policy. So I'm proud to say that this board has taken significant steps this year to protect Eldred students from the potentially harmful effects of federal and state mandates, promoting high-stakes standardized test-driven education reforms. In January, we unanimously approved a strongly worded resolution in support of authentic education and local controlled public education. In March, we unanimously approved a letter to parents of 3rd through 8th graders informing them of their right to, quote, opt out of the state tests. Through our resolutions and policies, this board continues to demonstrate our commitment to an authentic, whole-child approach to education and our willingness to embrace the most current scientific evidence to drive education policy. This evening, I would like to ask this board to consider writing a new recess policy that is aligned with our core values and based on the most current peer-reviewed, evidence-based research and advisory committee recommendations. I will summarize the work that's been done by our Recess Policy Subcommittee and the key points to be included in our new recess policy. Then I would like to ask for your thoughts on this topic and discuss our next steps. So first, let's briefly review some relevant excerpts from our Common Core resolution. We open by stating, quote, "The purpose of education is not solely to prepare students for college and career success, but to educate a populace of creative and critical thinkers who are capable of shaping a just and equitable society and leading good and purpose-filled lives. We resolve to, quote, emphasize district measures of authentic student progress and engagement over state measures and standardized test scores, and to, quote, align all student, teacher, and classroom schedules to our core values as described in our resolution." With this in mind, Ms. Keegan and I co-chaired a subcommittee of the Wellness Committee to explore the topic of recess policy. The subcommittee was comprised of teachers, including Mrs. Fine, Mrs. G, Mrs. Schatt, Mrs. Van Haeg, and Mrs. Yenny, and community-based subject matter experts who are also parents, including Beth Dearman, Ryan Gillespie, Dr. Johanna Lance, and Tammy Ludwig-Miller. The subcommittee reviewed our current recess policies and practices and thoroughly analyzed and discussed current research on the importance of recess. Ultimately, we reached a consensus on several key points to be included in a new recess policy to be written by this board. I would like to thank the subcommittee members for their participation in this important initiative. Substantiation for this proposed recess policy is stated most clearly in a 2013 policy statement from the American Academy of Pediatrics, entitled "The Crucial Role of Recess in School." For each of the proposed policy items, I'll offer rationale in the form of actual language from the AAP. I've also provided each of you with a copy of the AAP policy statement, which I'll actually hand out now. This is the policy statement from the American Academy of Pediatrics. It's a good read. It's only 6 pages long. It's full of really good information. And I'll also, as well as a comprehensive and fascinating report from the U.S. Play Coalition and the Alliance for Childhood entitled "A Research-Based Case for Recess." I'll hand that out as well. Second document, which is for your reading pleasure. So, I'll begin with the AAP's concise description of the current state of recess policy in the United States. This is from the AAP document. Within the school environment, there are competing calls for stricter standards and greater academic achievement, as well as calls for schools to provide greater opportunities for non-sedentary daily activity. Even with ample evidence of a whole child benefit from recess, significant external pressures, such as standardized cognitive testing mandated by education reforms, have led some to view recess as a time that would be better spent on academics. Time previously dedicated to daily activity in school, such as physical education and recess, is being reallocated to make way for additional academic instruction. Ironically, minimizing or eliminating recess may be counterproductive to academic achievement, as a growing body of evidence suggests that recess promotes not only physical health and social development, but also cognitive performance. The AAP offers 6 specific recommendations for school policymakers, and our recess policy subcommittee has expanded these recommendations by offering the following specific policy prescriptions. 1. All students are entitled to a minimum of 30 minutes of recess per day. While this is the minimum allowable daily recess time, teachers are encouraged to extend additional time if they feel it would benefit their students physically or cognitively. And again, so for each of these recommendations from the subcommittee, I'll provide language from AAP that supports it, which is one of the factors that the subcommittee considered. So this is from the AAP policy statement. Quote, recess is a necessary break in the day for optimizing a child's social, emotional, physical, and cognitive development. Recess represents an essential planned respite from rigorous cognitive tasks. It affords a time to rest, play, imagine, think, move, and socialize. After recess, students are more attentive and better able to perform cognitively. In addition, recess helps young children to develop social skills that are otherwise not acquired in a more structured classroom environment. Number 2, a student's right to recess is unalienable. Recess may not be denied, shortened, postponed, or otherwise restricted for any reason, including discipline or academics. Likewise, recess may not be offered as a reward for positive behavior or academic achievement. Recess should be a fundamental part of every school day, just as essential as any academic subject. And so here's the rationale from the AAP policy statement. Quote, on the basis of an abundance of scientific studies, withholding recess for punitive or academic reasons would seem to be counterproductive to the intended outcomes and may have the unintended consequences in relation to a child's acquisition of important life skills. Recess should be considered a child's personal time and should not be withheld for academic or punitive reasons. 3, to maximize its benefits, recess should be scheduled in regular intervals during the daily academic schedule. Our policy should require a minimum of 2 periods of recess per day. Teachers are encouraged to exceed this minimum number of recess periods if they feel it would benefit their students physically or cognitively. So here's the rationale from the AAP. Cognitive processing and academic performance depend on regular breaks from concentrated classroom work. To be effective, the frequency and duration of breaks should be sufficient to allow the student to mentally decompress. Optimal cognitive processing in a child necessitates a period of interruption after a period of concentrated instruction. The benefits of these interruptions are best served by unstructured breaks rather than by merely shifting from one cognitive task to another. Several studies demonstrated that recess made children more attentive and more productive in the classroom. This finding was true, even though in many cases the students spent much of their recess time socializing. In fact, the student's ability to refocus cognitively was shown to be stimulated more by the break from the classroom than by the mode of activity that occurred during that break. Any type of activity at recess benefited cognitive performance afterward. In other countries, such as Japan, primary school-aged children have a 10 to 15-minute break every hour, and this is thought to reflect the fact that attention spans begin to wane after 40 to 50 minutes of intense instruction. On the basis of this premise, to maximize cognitive benefits, recess should be scheduled at regular intervals, providing children sufficient time to regain their focus before instruction continues. The 4th recommendation from the subcommittee, for purposes of our policy, recess is defined as, quote, regularly scheduled periods within the elementary school day for unstructured physical activity and play. This is the official CDC definition from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. Recess should not be confused with organized adult-directed activities or physical education. Recess is a dedicated time during which children may interact freely with one another in an unstructured manner. While recess should certainly be supervised by adults, it should not be led, instructed, or otherwise directed by adults. Here's the rationale from the AAP. Quote, through play at recess, children learn valuable communication skills, including negotiation, cooperation, sharing, and problem solving, as well as coping skills, such as perseverance and self-control. These skills become fundamental, lifelong personal tools. Recess is a complement to, but not a replacement for, physical education. Physical education is an academic discipline. Whereas both have the potential to promote activity and a healthy lifestyle, only recess, particularly unstructured recess, provides the creative, social, and emotional benefits of play. Recess is an unstructured but supervised break that belongs to the child. That is a time for the child to make a personal choice between sedentary, physical, creative, or social options. 3 short ones here finally. 5, teachers should be encouraged to schedule recess periods before lunch. And the rationale from the AAP states, quote, many school wellness councils have adopted the recess before lunch concept, which stems from studies that examine food waste by students in relation to the timing of their recess. When students have recess before lunch, more time is taken for lunch and less food is wasted. In addition, teachers and researchers noted an improvement in student behavior at mealtime, which carried into the classroom in the afternoon. The CDC and the U.S. Department of Agriculture support the concept of scheduling recess before lunch as part of a school's wellness policy. 6, we should make all necessary accommodations to ensure the health and safety of students during recess periods. And the rationale from the AAP says, quote, recess should be safe and well supervised. Although schools should ban games and activities that are unsafe, they should not discontinue recess altogether just because of concerns connected with child safety. Environmental conditions, well-maintained playground equipment, and well-trained supervisors are the critical components of safe recess. And finally, number 7, our recess policy should serve as but one piece of a larger commitment to helping all students achieve the recommended 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous physical activity per day. And the rationale from the AAP states, quote, recess can serve as a counterbalance to sedentary time and contribute to the recommended 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous activity per day, a standard strongly supported by AAP policy as a means to lessen risk of overweight. I apologize for the length of the report, but I didn't want to minimize all the time and effort that the subcommittee put into going through these things. There's a pile of them, and there were some very good discussions had, including a lot of community-based subject matter experts that we're so fortunate to have in our community. And we went back and forth many times, as Keegan could attest to it, with specific questions that all culminated in this set of recommendations for the board. I thought the best thing to do is to present it to you guys as a report, and then just ask for your thoughts on it, and then discuss the best way to actually take this and write it into a policy at some point, if that's what we want to do.
Thank you, Brian.
It's very well done.
Yeah.
Very well done. My thought in reading it, the initial thought that came to me in reading it was, okay, now we have a decision to make because we just gave the scheduling folks, we just gave them a carte blanche basically to teach the way they see fit.
Yep.
And now to dictate, when and how many recess, that might. Yeah, please.
I'm sorry. I did put a caveat on the elementary scheduling committee that there would be a mandatory 30-minute recess, uninterrupted recess, not to be used for punitive measures, not to be used to make up work. And I left it at the discretion of the teacher that it could be 30 minutes, 2 15 minutes, 3 10 minutes. We did not specify times because we let them do the schedule, and we said minimum. And that was clearly put at the top of all of their schedules when they were distributed before they left in June. Because some of this work has already been done, but we haven't got into the minutia of depicting times based on rationale that we had basically just told the teachers they're the masters of their classroom. And the research all makes good sense, but there are certain things in the schedules that need to be taken into consideration. So there can't be a one-size-fits-all. For example, some classes may have a morning filled with specials, where they're in art, and they're in gym and tech, which is different than sitting in ELA and math and social studies and writing. So if you tell a teacher they have to have a 15-minute recess in the middle of that, that could be hard because the specials are only scheduled at certain times throughout the day and throughout the week. So if a specific grade level has a morning full of specials, their students will now lose time in either music or art or technology or library or physical education. So I understand what the intent is, but it runs counterintuitive to what we've asked the teachers to do. So I'm not sure what the solution is, but what I want to assure everyone is we have instituted a mandatory, uninterrupted, 30-minute minimum of recess, okay? And we made suggestions on how they could break it up, but we left it to the teachers at their discretion. Maria, that kind of makes sense what I'm saying? Because your schedule are the mornings where you do have back-to-back specials?
Yes.
So, and the
And
kids...
there are many of us, if I may add, that do work a recess or a break in between ELA and math. If I had 2 periods of math, they get a 15-minute, my kids get a 15-minute break. It's not necessarily outside because that brings it into a 20-minute or a half an hour break, but they get that downtime in between the 2 subjects. And I know there are several people in the building that do that too.
And the other thing at the opening day when Miss Keegan has her faculty meetings, and we've already discussed this with the faculty, we've asked them to factor a huge piece of common sense into it because we can't have everyone going out to the big door. If all of the teachers decide at the same time, this is a good time for a recess, we reminded them there is a playground on the primary side of the building. You've got the center courtyard, you've got the soccer field, so we basically told them if you walk out the door and everyone's there, go around to the other side of the building, so because that gets dangerous.
And knowing the teachers, having had my own experience in classrooms, they will work it out. Like, oh, well, if you want to be here every Tuesday and Thursday at 10:15, then I'll do something else at 10:15, and I'll come at 10:30 or whatever. They'll work it out. The first days might be a little hectic, but usually they work those things out. I love the report. I think it's so powerful because it's so true. And you're right, we have over the last decade sacrificed playtime to academics. And it's not that academics are bad, it's just that playtime is good. And so we shouldn't be losing, and I love that this is the unstructured, that's been mentioned, because, I mean, kids love to play a ball game, but that's not necessarily recess. It's good exercise, but it's not necessarily recess. So the idea of this creative, social, and yeah, it's going to challenge the teachers to come up with suggestions for the kid who wants to sit against the brick wall for 15 minutes and do nothing.
That's their choice.
That's his recess, but if that's all he does all year long, then there's some indication that might be some, encouragement for us, some other things. Not necessarily more active, just maybe somebody else sitting there with him, or talking to him, or take a book out, or, that's all I'm saying. But I love the report, I love what it says, I love that we already have the 30-minute commitment, and if we can tweak, let's just let the teachers know that if they can get one in the morning, it's before lunch, that's even better. Just let's let them know that, we don't have to necessarily make that policy.
Right.
But I love it, and I really appreciate the work the committee did, very much so.
Well, I appreciate what you said about the path that we're going down over the past decade with the focus on academics. You'll see if you read the AAP policy statement, the research that we've been counterproductive. We've taken so much time towards, cramming the academic focus down everyone's throats that it's actually moved us backwards, as opposed to just capitalizing on a child's own ability to grow their brain in a way that's natural.
Right.
And so giving more recess, according to all the data, shows a benefit in terms of academic performance.
And let's face it, we have to admit that in this day and age, most kids don't go out and play with the neighbors down the street or anywhere else. They're not playing like they used to play, unless they're lucky enough to have a yard and neighbors or play dates scheduled. But it's so much harder in this day and age for kids to actually just relax and play. I go to Circle Park, I can sit there and watch forever. How they just run and run and run and run, and they just don't get that. So our society doesn't allow freedom for children like it used to. So we need to provide it during the day. I think it's very important.
you.
So I would share that, Mr. DeFore was obviously paying very close attention to the work that the subcommittee was doing, which is why he's proactively put a lot of this in place. So I really appreciate that because it would have been very difficult to amend a schedule after day one. So he's prepared. There's some things in here that are logistically quite challenging. The most challenging one is the compelling science that shows that we should be providing multiple breaks throughout the day, shorter breaks, not just a 30-minute block. Logistically, that's very difficult. And so we have to think about, the way that we put that into a policy, whether that's a mandate or a recommendation. Now, if it's a recommendation, I understand that, and allowing the teacher's discretion to make it work the way that they do. But I think we have to support that with some education as well. We have to, have a commitment to some education on the data that shows the benefits of doing that, so the teacher can factor that into their decisions.
Understood. And I agree. So, do we have any other old business?
I have a piece of old business.
Any other old business? No. Okay, so I have one thing for new business. Yeah. So we have meetings, our October 13th meeting, October is good for me. The December 8th meeting, I cannot be at. So we either can change the meeting date, or you can have it without me. It's your call. I don't care. Well, I do care, but December the 8th. December the 8th. That's our December meeting, okay? So,
Do we have to do it on Thursday, Doug, or can we do it some other day during that week?
well, we typically stay on Thursday, just, but we can have a meeting whenever we need to have a meeting.
And the only reason I ask is because...
Yeah, I'm
it gets-
gone from the 6th to the 11th, I'm sorry.
Oh, I see, okay.
The 1st to the 15th?
The 1st or the 15th we can do?
First.
First, Bob,
And that's, when's the school term, so we don't look at
I don't know the answer to that.
What are we talking, what date again?
December,
Of what, December?
Well, our scheduled meeting date is December the 8th.
Yeah.
high school concert is on the 14th, so 15th is...
So the 15th would be
Mackenzie
fine.
concert is on the 6th, so the 15th would work.
Okay?
I like 15th.
All right.
And again, listen, you guys can have a meeting without me. It's certainly doable.
It's a lot more work if you're not around. That's right, no, we don't want any more work.
As I said, you can certainly do it.
Good, but we're not going to.
Okay, so we'll need a motion to amend the December meeting date from the 8th to the 15th.
I like that motion.
And a second? Any discussion?
Ms. McKenzie?
And I don't know where it is, I'm sorry.
I think December's okay.
Yeah, September, October, November, and December at our Mackenzie.
Okay, so then, oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
So then we just need to vote, or do you have another question? I'm sorry.
No,
Okay, so then Brian,
Yes.
Carol,
yes.
Linda,
Yes.
Alonzo,
Yes.
and I'll say thank you.
I will
Not sure.
be there in October, but you don't have to change the date. I'll be cruising in the Caribbean, you don't have to change the
I can
date.
vote.
What are we doing wrong?
Yeah,
You're not retired.
it's
Oh, that's it.
retirement.
I'm retired.
Good Lord.
You need to
You
join
are not retired,
Okay.
honey.
My what?
your husband.
Do we have any other new business? Okay, then, we have public comment. Yes,
I
sir.
just had something that I asked last month about the bus leasing. You had said you had been investigating that. Is that something, how close is the district to doing that? Is that something that you're looking to try to do this year, by December?
Would happen the following school.
So we will be
Whatever
repairing,
decision would be as part of the, give me a second, the 17-18 budget process.
and so we're going to continue to fix the buses we have.
Because otherwise, if we're going to make any that are going to directly impact our budget, we're going to require a public vote on it.
Right, well, I was thinking about that for December, so that's all.
That was-
you
But there
were,
is a cost inherently involved with that, we'd like to avoid if at all
Okay.
possible, so Ruth is,
oh, the cost of the vote you're talking
yeah, there
about,
is a
not of the
cost
actual
involved.
lease.
So
Okay.
Ruth is looking into it. We're sending two people,
Yes, we have two representatives from the transportation department going down to a bus manufacturer in South Carolina?
No, North Carolina.
North Carolina. And just to see their operation, get
Okay.
familiar, and it's at their manufacturer's
Manufacturer's facility.
expense.
but it's actively being pursued.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Just Louis, I just wanted to say I think it's awesome what you did with the lunch program, because I know that a lot of people have been talking about breakfast and different menu and all that sort of stuff, so it's like, a lot of them are going to be very, very happy next year, like, with all the choices. And I've spoken with like Mr. Lance and other people, and they're, really happy about moving forward with that. And then the other thing I wanted to say was, thank you for having us at the elementary school this summer.
It
for the
was our
program.
pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
Yes, it was. It was cool that, we were able to use all the facilities that.
There's some fabulous jobs.
What was in the, was
Uh,
that the Lumberland camp?
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
Lumberland youth program. So we, it was ran for just last month. And,
I saw the little hose thing with the.
yeah, that went viral.
That
Actually,
was
Yeah.
very
Facebook page
cool.
has like 40,000 views, likes, and all
That's
that.
really cool.
Yeah. So I just thought that was like amazing that you guys keep letting us use the facilities there, because I know that, with 60 screaming children from grades K through, 7, it's, we leave a mess of paint and we have all sorts of fun, but,
It was
cleaning
fun
up
having
and.
it. It was
But
great.
actually, both buildings are used, because Highland has their camp.
Oh, okay, I wasn't sure.
So both buildings every summer are used by the two townships for their summer camp program.
Yeah, I wasn't sure about Highland, but all right, it was cool. I think it's awesome that we do that.
Yes, Ms. Beck.
I just wanted to say something about the dress code. I know that was in the consent agenda, but I'm old school. I think that wearing a hat inside a building is disrespectful. And I also think that wearing a hat in a classroom, just like in a church, is disrespectful. But also I think it causes a discipline problem. Like if my classroom, I did not allow hats, but my other grade level teacher allowed hats, and that would just cause unnecessary discipline problems. And I think that not that our school has terrible discipline problems, but it's unnecessary, and we have enough of disrespect, that I think that should be something that should be enforced. Like, they should be respectful of where they are and what they're doing. Makes sense.
I agree, but from a middle school, high school perspective, I never had an issue. Really, never had an issue.
And I do too, I feel very strongly about it, but I think we have to pick our battles,
I think there's too many bigger battles things, but I think that's why there's.
Well,
a lot of red
Here's
tape.
something for you to think about. Last month, while we were discussing this, there were gentlemen in the room with hats on. It's just not considered by everybody to be the rudeness that it was. A man takes a hat off when he meets a woman. Well, that kind of doesn't happen anymore. People hold doors for each other. Men always hold doors for women. Well, not so much anymore. So, what we personally feel and what we think we can enforce, it's not so much picking our battles. It's like, should we still be doing cursive writing? Because we hardly write anymore. So should we be spending teaching time on cursive writing?
Yes.
You can disagree or agree, but my point is, we cannot take up our time with those things when the society around us is changing its requirements for those kinds of things.
I have to just
I don't know.
respectfully disagree. I agree with Mrs. Dutcher, because what we do have the ability as a school board to set policy. And I didn't want to harp on this earlier before I vote, because I made myself clear last month, but and it's ironic, by the way, that I'm the youngest and the least cool on our school board, because I think it's terrible for people to wear hats in the
I
building.
think you're the least cool.
Yeah, I'm way uncool. I don't think it's acceptable at all to wear a hat in school. That is not a cool thing to do. So it's not. It is disrespectful. And even if the rest of the world has evolved to the point where it's acceptable for people to come to the school board meeting wearing a hat, we in our school have the responsibility to actually teach children how to be respectful
I
and productive.
bet
And
you
so there's
a lot
certain
of
things
people
we
will
can't
do that.
touch, but we could say, if we wanted to, that that's one thing that's within our jurisdiction to say, in our school, you're not going to wear a hat because that's one of the basic rules. If you're going to be a productive person in the workplace at some point, you're going to have to just show some decent rules, basic rules of respect. So I'm disappointed that we didn't vote on it. You know, I appreciate Linda, and I like the split vote. And maybe we can talk about this in the future.
Can I add something? Sullivan West has the same issue. Sullivan West. They came up with something where on Fridays, they paid $1 to a specific
Yeah.
Charity.
charity, and they got to wear their hat, so it was respectful at that point to actually give it to charity and
When we did our trip to Fort Jervis this previous year, and I think I briefly mentioned some of the stuff that they did, that's very similar to what Mr. Okerski said. That's exactly what they do at Fort. So to stop those sort of issues, they kind of allow students to wear certain things at certain times, even promote it, like Fort Jervis hats or all sorts of really different things. And that sort of kind of makes a little bit of a compromise. I'm not even saying I agree. It's just that's what they did, and it sounds like it works. So.
Very good. Any other public comment? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Beth Dearmond. Brian, I want to say thanks for writing up the Wellness Committee report. I just had some additional thoughts about it, and I would love it if the board could consider. I know that we were focusing a lot on the elementary school, because when you think recess, you think of younger children, but you know, there's a number of studies that have also shown how important unstructured time and physical activity is for high school age students as well. So even though kids leave the elementary school, come to the junior, senior high school, it doesn't mean that they still wouldn't benefit from having time throughout their day that's unstructured and or based around physical activity. I have no idea what the logistics of that are. I have no idea how it could possibly be done because I have no idea what life is like in the junior, senior high school yet. And I'm fine with that. I am very far from ready for that. But
So you just basically threw the gas and lit the match and ran, right? That's what you-
yeah, I'm really good at that, yeah. Just something to
I understand.
to think about.
I understand.
It was on our list of questions that, remember, we had the long list and we kept reconvening to answer the questions. And one of the questions was, should our recess policy extend into like high school? And I don't remember exactly the discussion, but it was basically, we kind of didn't pursue it. So are you suggesting, I guess to the board, I mean, before we continue this discussion, we didn't have any representation on the recess policy subcommittee from high school faculty or high school staff. If we were to answer that question, we'd probably have to, you know, reconvene and ask that question, explore that a little further. Is that something that you think we should do?
I think to ask the question, you know, doesn't hurt us, right? I don't know how we answer the question. You know, from a secondary school perspective, I don't know how you would schedule it.
I'd love to know if, in fact, there are any high schools that are providing it, because I can't see how to do it. I know they have, and we probably do too, like they get, when they finish eating, they can hang out.
Right.
That's like a break for them, right?
And again, that's contrary to what the report said, you know, you should have your recess before you.
I get you,
Yeah,
but
I've actually done it.
It's difficult.
It was a 40-minute period. We noticed we had discipline issues in our cafeteria. So we split the lunch. Kids could play wiffle ball.
right. First or
second. Well, we also had supervision to do it. We had a lot of teachers, aides in the building. So we were able to do it, but that's how it worked.
and so that would work at least around the lunch hour to break
It was around the lunch hour. So some of the kids had it before, some had it after, but we did have more supervision.
But it still would have to be contained within the lunch
And
period.
some kids went outside and they played wiffle balls. It was more structured, but they had basketball time, if they wanted to play basketball. We had a game room, if they wanted to play chess.
We used to have the gym be available during lunch. I don't even know.
And actually, when I did my scheduling, I was intended to
The issues we would have are the number of classes high school students are required to take. There's going to be contractual issues, and there are going to be budgetary issues. Because there is nothing in the contract requiring a high school teacher to supervise recess. There's nothing in the contract requiring an elementary school teacher to supervise recess. It's custom and it's practice that elementary schools always have recess. If we were to put any type of recess policy in at the high school without giving it a couple of years of study, you would have union issues. You're now requiring an employee to do something they never did before. You're going to have budgetary issues because you're going to have additional supervision. So there's many, many facets to it. And there are some cases where a student just cannot, as they get into the upper grades, get a recess because we have some students that, because of the classes they failed, are taking 9 straight classes, and we have trouble making room in their schedules for lunch. So there's a lot of logistic issues. It's night and day between the two. So it's not something that you can do a board policy and then expect the administration to implement. It would require a significant amount of study. And there was no high school that I know of in the 4-county region.
I had extra staff that did not have to put money in.
Right, you had extra
I had
staff.
extra
We
staff.
don't have that extra staff, which means we would have to hire people to do it. So now you have a budgetary issue. And you'll have a tax issue.
And it would have to be well supervised because free time for high school students is not something I want to imagine. I'm sorry.
We have a closed campus in the high school for a reason.
Exactly. I'm sorry. Did I say that wrong? Should I try to restate that?
Our imaginations, that's all.
Yeah, okay.
So, I mean, our focus obviously was on the elementary school.
Yeah,
All
I
the research that
think
you'll see is on the elementary school. I think at some point in the future, the wellness policy would reconvene and explore it after we do policy directed at the elementary school.
Yeah, sounds good. Good. Okay. Any other public comment? Yes.
The vending machine thing. I thought there was a whole New York State health and wellness thing where they were taking the vending machines out of the buildings. And I thought that's why
Bad
that.
vending machines are being
These
taken
are
out.
going to
I'm sorry?
Bad
Only
vending
healthy
machines
stuff.
are being taken out.
We are following child nutrition protocols and what's going to be put in those vending machines.
Okay.
It's not going
A
to be
vending machine that dispenses water is one less thing that somebody needs to handle on the line in the kitchen. A vending machine that distributes the proportioned snack chip bags, which are 60 calories, whatever, is one less thing somebody in the kitchen's got to handle. So it's only going to be items that fall within the healthy nutrition guidelines that are going to be dispensed from the vending machines. We're not bringing in Coca-Cola and having them put it in the vending machine.
No
Sorry.
Gatorade, no Coke.
But now are they going to be able to use their cards that? the
No,
points-
it'd be, it's a la
Where
carte.
now they can use their cards for that. Now,
Not for
Right?
extra stuff, right?
well, no, they
No,
can
they
buy
can,
snacks and
they
things.
can use their cards, but that prevents a student, a child, from spending their lunch money on snacks. If we allow the cards in the vending machines, any money the parents put on the account for lunch could be used in the vending machine. And we don't want that either. These vending machines, they will have to bring money. Because if we allow them to use their cards or their PIN in that vending machine, they can spend all of their money on their account on snacks. They could feed their class. And then the parent's going to get a letter home that they owe money to the school. That I don't want either.
It has happened.
It does.
It has happened.
It
I
does.
know, my own son did.
Just the human I mean, Mrs. Halleck is the best at that register because, I mean, I know with her, I've said, my kids get snacks on Fridays and that's that, you know, and she will say, you know, Sammy's been eating breakfast. And I said, well, Sammy eats breakfast at home, you know, that kind of stuff. So we take, and she works that way with a lot of other people. Now, is the cafeteria not going to be selling those snacks instead?
They will not be on the line.
They won't be on the line at all, they'll be
vending
out in the vending
machines.
machine.
Because I'm trying to make room on the lines for more healthy options.
Okay. It was, as a parent, it was just great, and as a teacher, when kids came in with money, knowing that they weren't going to have cash was a nice thing, and they
They
would give
still
them
don't have
different
to have
things.
cash for their lunch. They
Right.
only have to have cash for the
But
vending
it's the
machine.
snacks, that's the, Okay, all right, thank you.
Now, we, student council proposed this idea, I think in 2014, 2015 year. We were told by Mr. Travis that the reason why we can't have any machines, because we were actually looking at, like, doing this, was because it would create competition for the cafeteria. And he was explaining how the cafeteria obviously is making a lot of money now. Is that gonna?
That is correct. The
Yeah.
the cafeteria will be receiving all the proceeds out of the vending machines. It will supplement the cafeteria.
And being a high school student, I think it would make a huge difference if the snacks were sold in the machine, because a lot of times you're on, or the line is like, to the cafeteria, and you have people waiting there just to buy chips, and you're like, want to strangle the person in front of you, and you're like, what?
Even the ice cream will be in the vending machine.
Anyone else?
Healthy ice cream.
Public comment?
The healthiest.
The healthy ice cream. Okay, so we're gonna need, or excuse me, I need 5 minutes to talk to you about a contractual matter. Namely, I know, go ahead. I know, I'm sorry, 5 minutes, I promise.
Stay until the dump stops.
Yeah, well, unless you have an umbrella.
5 minutes
you're
or
gonna
a
pay.
strong passes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so I need a brief executive session for that,
I'll make the motion.
and a second.
second.
Sorry. Okay. Well, I don't want to kick everybody out. Okay, all right, so we'll use this
Just
one,
take
okay. All right, so, any questions, any conversation? Ryan,
Yes.
Carol,
Yes.
Linda?
Yes.
And I'll say yes. We are not doing any business afterwards, folks, I swear.
I'm not gonna be out.
No.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, my phone is
Hey, ladies.